We have some tapes that we brought down. 3-part series on fatherhood. A man takes a city, that whole outline on Othniel, who took the city. God bless the fathers and dads. What kind of a legacy are you going to leave? So there's a 3-part series there. We have a 3-part series on anger and controlling your anger. We also have a 3-part series on bondages of every kind that Jesus Christ wants to set free in your life. The 3-cassette series is $15. And then we have a 6-part series on morality. We have 2 tapes in here on the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah. What was the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah? Because it was far wider than homosexuality, although very much included in there. We did this 2-part series, and it really opened up our hearts and even my heart as a teacher about the whole gay lifestyle, the mindset that they're under, and why it's not easily broken. And it gave me greater compassion concerning the gay community. We have about a dozen that we know of out of the closet who have turned their lives around or are in process of turning their lives around from the gay community in our church, and who knows how many are still in the closet. So these are 6 tapes for $25. You can grab those if you'd like to. We made our first ever shirts and hats. This is one sample, Be a Man. All right, they go for $11. These are pro hats. They usually go for $18 in the shops, but we got it for $11. And then we have some shirts, both white and gray, with double extra large all the way down to medium. Be a Man. All right, these are for $14. Okay, we're going into number 2. The first one was about fathers. That was all material that isn't too much in my book. The next 6 sections are in my book. I want you to turn to Proverbs 27. You getting something so far? Yes. All right, I told you I'm going to stimulate your thinking. The Holy Spirit's going to say things that I'm not saying to you. Write them down. And remember, you said that we could be real today. Take off the mask. Someone once said, listen to this. Someone once said, we would not be so concerned about what people think about us if we realized how seldom they do. So take the mask off. Every one of us men are in process. We are in development. There are areas of my life that the Lord continues to show me, teach me, redo. You have to grow in that area. You have to develop in this area. You're not mature in that area. So none of us have anything on anybody else. We're all in process. And this next section is on accountability. Proverbs 27, verse 9. It says, the perfume and incense brings joy to the heart, and the pleasantness of one's friend springs from his earnest counsel. Most of us all love the smell of a pretty woman. There's something about the smell of nice incense. When it hits your olfactory senses and it gets into your system, it actually goes to the pleasure center of your brain. And man, there's something about that that's nice. He said, just like perfume and incense do that, when a friend springs counsel into your life, it's just like that perfume and that incense. Each one of us need that kind of friend. I have some close friends. I guess I'm blessed in one respect, relatively speaking. How many of you do not have a best friend? I mean, a bud that you just... Okay. I have 2 guys that are my heart and soul, and Pastor David is like my 3rd mighty man. King David had 3 mighty men and then 30 mighty men behind those 30. But these 3 guys, David, Brian, and Vince, are good buddies of mine. The pleasantness of our friendship comes from the fact that we encourage each other, we compliment each other, but we also correct each other. There's a place and a time where a brother needs to speak into your life and say, hey man, that's out of line. You're wrong there. You need to stop that. I'm not going to let you do that. Vince and I, Vince is my senior associate pastor. He's an African-American man. He's been my best friend for over 20 years. We've been in ministry together for a long, long time. And Vince is a very good-looking man. And the women think so too. And so he and I make sure that not only do we both keep women away from us, but that we don't allow our hearts to even begin to be enticed by the pretty women that are around us. That's our accountability. And we talk about it. We share our lives together in that context. And so you need a friend that will encourage you. You need a friend that will compliment you. But you need a friend that will also correct you. If you have the attitude, man, I don't need you telling me anything. Who are you? Or if every time somebody corrects you, you throw it back on them. Hey, you shouldn't cuss like that. What about the time you did? Okay. You want a guy that'll speak to you and you can go, man, I'm going to pray about that. Or you're right. Or, wow, I didn't see that about myself. You need a guy like that in your life. I tell a story in the book about going on a deer hunting trip. I got into archery hunting, shooting with a bow and arrow. That's intense. I'll tell you, it's totally different than rifle hunting because at 100 yards with a bow, the hunt is just starting. With a rifle, it ended. Because it's that last 50 or 60 yards that is the real hunt with archery. Because you got to get within 40 yards or so before you can cleanly kill an animal. And we went on an archery hunting trip way up in the Nevada mountains, 10,000 feet up in the deer summer range. It was awesome. This old Jewish man took us up there. We saw deer everywhere. In the first year, it was my first year. I missed 3 different bucks and never got anything. But boy, I wanted to go back that next year. But the climb up that mountain was so steep. It was almost like this kind of a climb for hours, just intense, 10,000 feet, no oxygen. You have to be in shape. I stay in shape, not only because I like to be in shape and I've been an athlete all my life, but it also just gives you an edge in everything you do. Everything you do. And the next year we wanted to go back and we were going to take up another guy and he was out of shape. And we told him a year in advance, hey, Pete, you better get in shape, man. This is one tough climb, but it's worth it when you get to the top. There are bucks everywhere. Well, he didn't take us real serious. So we go on this trip. Sure enough, we parked the 4-wheel drive. We start climbing that mountain. It was just as tough as I remembered it. And about 200 yards into it, Pete is falling over. Backpack's all crooked. He's just losing it. And Brian and I climbed to the top of the mountain and turn around and Pete's nowhere to be found. So we just take a breather. Well, we'll wait 15 minutes. I'm sure he'll crest the hill. He never crests the hill. So I had a choice. Oh, well. I told him. I warned him. I told him to get ready. He didn't listen. I'm going to leave him there. Or I could go back and help my brother. What would I have wanted? Yeah, maybe my ego would have been in the way. I don't need no help. I'll make it. Or I could say, man, I didn't prepare. Thanks for helping me out here. I went back and helped him up the mountain. You see, there are going to be times where you're not going to have prepared yourself. You're not going to be ready for what life is handing you. You're not dealing with this situation just right, and that's where your buddy comes in and walks you through that process. In fact, they did a study. They had a contest with horses to see how much weight an individual horse could pull. And the horse that won pulled 4,500 pounds. Second place horse pulled 4,400 pounds. You combine those two weights, what is that? 8,900 pounds, almost 9,000 pounds. But then they said, let's try this. Let's tie the horses together and see how much weight they can pull. Together they pulled over 12,000 pounds.